Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching this video. Today we will learn the very basic concepts of machine learning using the Kaggle.com platform. So once you log in into Kaggle.com, you're gonna see this page. This is your main entrance. This is called in Kaggle the home. And in the home you'll see several useful links, like to take a short course or learn how to compete in Kaggle. One thing I forgot is that Kaggle is a host of many machine learning competitions. Okay, so let's take a look at them. We can also navigate through the menu on the left. Okay, so here in competitions you have many types, many kind of competitions of many different things. Let's see, for example, these are very good for getting started. The Titanic machine learning example or this competition. These are like dummy competitions. There is no like actual important prize given here or in the house prizes competition. These are like, as I said, these are dummy competitions. And the idea here is more than winning the competition is to just get you started with learning some concepts or learning to manage some of the data sets and learning how to clean the data and stuff. Okay, so that's the first thing that you need to know here in Kaggle. There are many different competitions. Most of them have a price. As you can see, this one have $50,000. This has over $1 million and so on. So you can browse all those, and you can also really browse some of the data sets that are included here. So many companies upload their own data sets, usually anonymized data, and the idea here is that these companies share their data in order to host those competitions. Like, for example, let's see, maybe let's say LLM fine tuning, maybe a company from so you can see that here there are many data sets that have very useful information, very useful data, and you can filter it by many parameters that you can use here. Like, for example, if I want maybe to create a model for computer vision, let's see what I can find here. Okay, car detection, for example, these are brain tumor samples. Closed data set, maybe I'm building a website where I want to maybe use AI to generate, maybe for sales, for a retail website where I sell a lot of clothes. Maybe I can use like the customer picture and then put it on top of the clothes, so the customer knows how he will wear, how will the clothes look on him. Okay, maybe you can use this data set for this. This is a very useful data set, and so on. So you can take a spin here and enjoy just browsing these thousands of data sets. And of course, there are some models, like public models that you can use here. For example, the recently launched by DeepSeek. There it is. On top, I saw Mistral with only 24 billion parameters and so on. So you can take a look at any of these models and use them for training on your models. But on this video, what we are going to focus is on this section, which is called code. And it's a very interesting one because code is like joining maybe all the other three sections that we just saw. Like, because here in the notebooks you can create a model, you can explore data set, and of course you can participate on a competition. All right, So here there are several public notebooks, and here you can browse them. And for example, let's see, I saw this one on top. Oh, interesting. Let's see, like Airbnb pre-processing. I don't know. Let's see what this is about. Okay, so here what they are doing is that they are downloading some data from Airbnb, where they are just using it from maybe a competition. No, it's not a competition. Anyway, they're doing some exploration of the data, some public exploration, and you can now browse here. Okay, this is not a great looking code notebook, but let's see another one. For example, generating stunning images with Style Gun 3. Okay, so here what they do is that they're going to use some data, some public data of images, and then they are going to do some conversions, training the model, and then they're generating the images. Okay, you can run this by yourself. The thing is that right now this could take a lot of time, but let's get started with what we want. Okay, so here we hit on the left code, and then we go to, in your case, we're going to go and do a new notebook. Okay, so once we hit the new button, you can see that there is like this very empty, just with a template notebook. But what we're going to do is that we're not going to use this. We're going to import our own notebook, which we will follow in this video. And it will be left, of course, in the description of the video itself. So here we go and click File, then import the notebook. And we can go browse our files, or we can directly just drag and drop it. Okay, now we hit import, and I don't care. Okay, whatever. Okay, so this is our notebook. Okay, and here we have all the content of the exercise of this video, and what we will do is that we will execute this stuff, these boxes. These boxes are called cells. Okay, so and there are two types of cells. One of them is just code, and the other is markdown. And markdown is just like is kind of HTML thing, and we use it for documentation basically. Okay, so here I use it for leading the examples and giving us the overview, and you can see that Kaggle used the markdown that I used as table of contents. You can see it here on the right. Okay, so we will see like a brief intro, then we will get the data, then we will explore the data, see a little bit of it underneath, what's under the hood. Of course, we will train the model, and then we will do some predictions and see how our model goes. Okay, so I can go back to mail intro. Okay, okay, so here's the thing. We are going to use a very clean dataset which has all the values, very perfect quote unquote dataset. But this is not what happens on the real life. Okay, so like most of the time that we machine learning engineers or data scientists do is that we're just cleaning and pre-processing the data. But fortunately for us, there is very good data sets for getting started. Okay, so we're going to use Scikit Learn because it's a very handy tool, very handy library, which has not only the machine learning algorithms that we will use to create the models, but it also has a very interesting like toy datasets. That's what they call them, and are these like dummy datasets that let us like get our feet on the ground and start working with these datasets and exploring some data and doing some exercises like we're doing this on this notebook. Okay, so the first step here in machine learning or in every machine learning project would be get the data. Okay, so we will use a data set from the scikit-learn library. Okay, and this data set is called the iris dataset. Okay, and this data set what contains are 150 samples of three different kind of plants, different kind of iris plant to be precise. Okay, and we will classify them based on the length that they have. So this is what the dataset contains. So let's take a look at it. Okay, so the first thing is that we're going to import the dataset, and then we're going to create a variable which is name. Okay, so here in the notebooks, the way to execute a cell is to hit or Control Enter or Shift Enter. The result would be the same. Okay, this is Control Enter, and what will be happening right now underneath is that a Kaggle instance is getting started. So this could take a while, just maybe a couple of seconds to start. But when I hit Control Enter, um, it executes the cell. Okay, so because this is the first time that we are using it, it will take a little bit. But I can hit it already ended here and it executed, as you see. I can also, instead of Control Enter, I can use Shift Enter. The result will be the same. The only difference is that it will move one cell below. Okay, so what happened here? On the first line, we imported the iris dataset. Okay, we imported the load iris function, and then in the next line we use the load iris function to actually load the dataset into a variable called iris. Okay, so this variable will have a lot of information. Okay, so you can see here that there is something called data, which has from 0 to 149, so it has 150 rows and with different measures. Okay, the sepal length, the sepal width in centimeters, the petal length, and the petal width. Okay, and then we have the target, which will be also from 0 to 149, and the target will contain from 0 to 2. We'll take a look at this later. For now, we can, for example, check the methods. And this method, for example, dir, will allow me to like see what variables, what methods or attributes I can use on the iris variable. I can also see the type, for example, and it will tell me it's a scikit-learn bunch. A scikit-learn bunch, as the name specifies, it's just a variable which contains a bunch of things. Okay, we can comment here, so nothing will happen. And then what we're going to do is to separate the variable, the iris variable, into two different variables. Okay, we're going to separate into the data, the actual information that we have from the flowers, from the different plants. Okay, as we saw, like the sepal length, the sepal width, and so on. And another variable will have like the answer, okay, the kind of plant that it actually is. So we have three different plants. We don't know even the name. We just know that there are three plants. There's plant 0, plant 1, and plant 2, for example. Okay, so the next step will be to execute this cell. And here it is. Okay, I hit Control Enter, so it didn't go below. I can just do it again. It will go one cell below, and nothing happens apparently. And what I just did is that I created two new variables. One of them is data, the other is target. And we will see what they contain. Okay. So with the head method, you can take a look, like take a hint on what the data contains, what the variable contains. So in this case, for example, we see from variable 0 to 9, we can see that we have a sepal length of 5.1, 3.5, sepal width, and so on. This is for the first flower, okay, and so on, the second, the third. Okay, so 50 of them are of one kind, the next 50 are from other kind, and the next 50 are from another and different kind of plant. Okay, so let's see a little bit about the data description, the exploration of the data. So we have this method called info. And data.info, what it does is that we get some information about the columns that we have. So we can see here that I have 4 columns from 0 to 3. These are the name of the columns. I see that 150 of the elements are non-null, so this is good. Because one of the main problems in data science is when we have missing values. Okay. And we can see not only there are 150 non-null, but also that we have float type. Okay, as we saw earlier, these are numbers, and then it automatically classifies them as float values. Okay, then we hit data.describe, and describe what does is that this is basically statistical information. Okay, this would be really helpful to understand how the data is distributed, and also in order to maybe do some tuning on the model. This data is very, very important, because maybe from this data you can determine that a variable is very important, so I need to use it on the model. Or maybe on the contrary, a variable has a lot of outliers, so the mean would be really, really crazy if the variable has many outliers, which will make maybe the distribution to be skewed. So you can maybe here by looking at the distribution of the columns, you can get some valuable information. So that would be like basic exploration. Okay, so one is to take a look at the data, like what is it underneath, then take a look at the info, like how many of the values are null, and then maybe if I have some null values, I will need to do some processing in order to fill those null values, those empty ones. And also maybe I have some strings. Let's say, for example, I have the name of cities instead of a number or the name of a country. That would be an issue because the models do not work with strings. Okay, it's very important to know that. Next, what we need to understand is our target value. Okay, what we are actually trying to predict. So as I said earlier, we have 3 values. Okay, plant number 1 or kind number 1 of plant, kind 0, kind 1, and kind 2. But the cool thing here is that from this data set we can get, this is something from Scikit Learn, is that we can get the target names. So the target number 1 or target 0 would be setosa, target 1 would be versicolor type, and target 2 would be virginica kind. Okay, so now we have the 2 variables, the data and target, which store the data that we need to know in order to create a model. As you see, we have like, these are the questions. Okay, if I have, let's say, a flower with a sepal of 5.1 and a sepal width of 3.5 and a petal length of 1.4 and a petal width of 0.2, it means, let's say this is on data from target. Okay, as you see, this target value, this target on the row 0, it stores a 0. So it means that a sepal length of 5.1 and a sepal width of 3.5 and a petal length of 1.4 and a petal width of 0.2, it's of class 0. Okay, so let's say, for example, the value on the 49 is still 0, but for the 50, or this is actually the 51st, because this starts on 0, it has a type of 1, target kind of type of 1, and 1 is versicolor. Okay, so maybe we can join this. How about we do this? Target and okay, so variable 51 is versicolor, and let's say the 90, it's also versicolor. Okay, I hope you get the idea. So now we have all this data, the 150 measures from 150 different flowers, and then we are going to create a model with that, with the 150 data and 150 from the target values. Okay, on target. So as I said, the first 50 have the same kind. So if I do tail, the last 50 are from type 2. Okay, and let's see, for example, 140, it's Virginica. Okay, so with this data set already constructed and already explored, we are going now to train the model. Okay, so in this case, we're going to use the random forest algorithm, the random forest classifier. I will use random forest because of the many algorithms. Think of random forest as like the Swiss Army knife. Okay, you know it has like many things, like a screwdriver, maybe like a bottle opener, maybe a cork opener, and stuff like that. Okay, it's not maybe like the best bottle opener you have, but it works. Okay, and it can do many things, many different kind of works, and it just works. It can do many kind of jobs, and it just works. Okay, so it's very useful when you are like beginning to try to understand machine learning, because it does a very good job in no matter like what exercise you're doing, what data you're doing, it will do a fine job. Okay, so what I will do is to create a random forest classifier. Okay, and this random state is not that important right now. It's not that important for beginning. What this does is that it creates a model like with the same behavior once I create it again. Okay, if I recreate this notebook 100,000 times and I use this random state, it will create the same model. So it gets me basically one thing that is called in data science reproducibility, which allows you to actually repeat an exercise and find the same behavior and the same answers. So this is very important when you are like testing a machine learning model and you want to test it again, maybe the same model against different data, okay, and you want to maybe compare how it works with one data set or maybe another data set. This random state is for that, okay. So I'll create the random forest, and then I will hit this line, which will be the model dot fit. What I will do is to take the data, like the measures, and then take the target. Okay, so think about it like having the question and having the answers, and then the model will start to analyze this and see what are the patterns that it can find here to build a model. Okay, so this was very, very fast because it's a very short, very small data set. It has only 150 rows, but this can take a few minutes, maybe a little bit more, depending on the size of your data set. Okay, so here I have my random forest classifier, and now I have created the machine learning model. Okay, so I want to right now to try and test it a little bit to see how it behaves. So let's take a look how we can do that. Okay, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to read some data that we used on the data set, on the training data, and then I'm going to use it. I'm going to just take a look. Let's take, for example, the first row of the data set. Okay, and then I'm going to create a few variables. Okay, and here I have the 4 variables and I'm going to use them. So what I'm going to do is to reproduce like a flower with very similar to this one. Okay, so let's say instead of 5.1, let's go 5, let's go 0.1 centimeter below, and then I go a little bit up, 3.6, 1.3, I'm going a little bit below, and then I'm going a bit up, 0.3. Okay, so this is not a very advanced test. I'm just trying to just test the model. Okay, so now I have these variables with very similar measures to the first one, to this example. Okay, so let's see. Now I'm going to predict, and I'm going to use a vector of very similar, of a kind of a flower very similar to this one. Okay, and if you remember this 0, 1, this 0 type, let's see, target, let's use here, let's copy this and use it here. The 0 will be setosa. Okay, and now I'm going to predict this, and okay, we'll create an array of 0. Let's see. Oh, I made a mistake here. Okay, we're going to use this array 0, and then what if I do this? Okay, great. So let's see. Let's store this on answer, and then I'm going to copy this here. Let's see. And it's also setosa. So what I did here is that, okay, I created a prediction, and the prediction is based on a very similar to the setosa one. Okay, I had the setosa flower here. I'm just using very similar values, and then what I'm doing here is using these similar values and give me a prediction. As this was inside an array, it will also give me an array. Okay, this array only contains one value, which is the answer. That's why I'm using here the array. I'm reading the first position. As I said, this array has only one position. Okay, and it's giving me setosa. Okay, so if we, for example, have pick another row, another example, let's say 70. Uh, this one will have different values, of course, because this will be a different kind of flower, of iris flower. So this one, for example, has a sepal length of 5.9 and 3.2 and so on, etc. And then the target of this one, of the 70, this one will be a versicolor, okay. And then let's say here I go a little bit less, a little bit more, a little bit less, and a little bit more. Say I created another iris flower, which is very similar to the versicolor that I already have up. Okay, so now if I'm trying to predict, it will of course say that it's a versicolor. Okay, um, this was the first one, the first video, and I hope you grasp the very few materials, very few things that I show you here. The idea was to understand most than rather than the concept itself. The idea was to understand the very few concepts that are inside machine learning, like what are the main steps. Okay, so one of the main steps, of course, get the data. In this case, it was provided by the scikit-learn function. Okay, by the scikit-learn packages itself. We didn't have to go outside. We didn't have to go and clean the data, which saved us a lot of time and a lot of effort. The next step was, of course, exploring the data, getting a sense of what we had, what was the data here, looking at the distribution and so on. This is a very important step, of course, because it will allow you to process the data in case you need it. As I said before, this dataset is very dummy one and very useful for getting started. But in real life, you will have very messy data with, I don't know, maybe some names in English, some names in Spanish, some date formatted different, some American format, for example, then some European format, and you'll have to standardize and just use one format, for example. Okay, then you'll have to train the model and maybe use some parameters which are called actually hyperparameters. For example, one hyperparameter that I used was the random state. Okay, and the idea is that I can gain reproducibility here, and I can execute the machine learning model and create the exact same model no matter how many times I execute this. Okay, then I hit I use the data and the target separately, and I use them all to make the predictions. Okay, to create the machine learning model that would actually create some predictions. Then I use the same data that I had in training. I use it as example to create some new values. What you actually do in reality is that you separate from the training data, you leave from 10% to 30% for testing. Okay, so now I want to recap a little bit of what we just saw in this episode, in this video. Okay, so the first thing is that we use Kaggle as our machine learning platform, and we didn't need to install anything at all. We didn't need to upgrade our Python version, or we didn't even realize what Python version we were using. that was the main thing that Kaggle platform brought us in this video. Okay, the next thing is that we used uh, the Jupyter notebook to do some machine learning, some basic machine learning, but still we created an actual machine learning model able to predict a kind of iris plant. And the first thing that we did is that we downloaded the dataset from the machine learning framework of Scikit Learn, and we used the load iris function, which allowed us to create the dataset and then split it into the data and the target value. Then we did some exploration, some exploring of the data, and here it's a very important part too, because here you get down on the data, you observe it, like get to know the distribution of the data and see maybe if you need to do some transformation, or maybe you need to remove one of the columns, one of the variables from the model. It's very important to do this because maybe a noisy variable will only bring noise, or bring even dirt or garbage to the model, so it won't be very useful. So that's why exploring the data and getting a sense of it, it's very important. Then what we did is of course the training of the model. This is like the main part when you actually create the machine learning model. And here we use one of the many hyperparameters. Okay, hyperparameters is how you call the parameters from the machine learning model. We do this because the parameters of the machine learning model are actually the variables. So the sepal length, the sepal width, the petal length, and the petal width were the actual parameters. And then the random state, which is a variable, it's called an hyperparameter. Okay, and using this random state 1, 2, 3, I just used basically a random number. But this what gives me, if you remember, is reproducibility. Okay, this will allow us to, no matter how many times I execute this classifier, I create this model using this data and this target, I will get the exact same model. Okay, with the exact same ability to predict, to do some prediction, and that's our last part. Okay, so what I did here is that I took similar data to the data that I already had. Okay, I created one very similar instance or one very similar example, and then with that example I use it as input for the prediction. Okay, I said, okay, you already learned 150 different different flowers, different measures of flowers, and three different types of flowers. Okay, so now I have this new one that you have never seen. It's very similar, but you have never seen it. Now tell me what it is, what you think as a model it is, or what you guess. This is actually more like a guess than thinking. So I used the same variables that I have up here, and then I did the prediction. Okay, so that was basic of it. As I said, this is a very basic example. It has a lot of missing stuff, like for example cleaning the data and doing some feature engineering where you transform the data into more precise data. But this is only to get you like started really quickly and creating a model and understanding the parts. I hope I have accomplished my mission here in this video. So thanks for watching. Thanks for staying till the end. See you.